If the case that is currently being made on large swaths of the left is that every election that is lost is the result of voter suppression, and if on the case on the right is every election that is lost is based on voter fraud, you cannot have a well-respected election ever again.
So Ben Shapiro just delivered one of the smartest takes on election integrity I've heard in years, and it's getting pushback from his own side. He's arguing that both parties are destroying trust in elections with fear-mongering while making the case for evidence-based policy. This is institutional conservatism at its best.
Voter fraud is not only a problem, it could be a major problem if we do not actually put in place restrictions. Now,
the SAVE Act requires proof of citizenship when registering to vote and mandates voter roll cleanups. Under Trump's second term, this should be a slam dunk. But here's the problem. It's not budget related, so it can't pass through reconciliation and needs 60 Senate votes.
it is in fact a federal crime. And there is no evidence of gigantic number voter fraud in the United States. Now, you can say that it's happening, we just haven't detected it. That's fair, maybe. But just on an evidentiary basis, the notion that tens of thousands of Americans every election cycle are voting fraudulently, that evidence does not exist.
Heritage Foundation data shows only 1,400 proven instances of voter fraud since the 1990s. That's not nothing, but it's hardly tens of thousands per cycle. This evidence-based approach to policymaking is exactly what separates serious conservatives from the hysteria merchants.
And I'm quite suspicious of some election results, say like Al Franken over Norm Coleman, where someone discovers a box of ballots 5 seconds after the necessity for Al Franken to become a senator. And I think a lot of suspicious things happen. Would the current voter bill actually stop that?
The 2008 Franken-Coleman race was genuinely suspicious. Franken won by 312 votes after multiple recounts and contested ballots appeared. But here's his key point. Even legitimate concerns about specific races don't justify nuking institutions over unproven mass fraud claims.
We're not going to pass anything until we pass the SAVE Act, which is cutting off your nose to spite your face. So John Thune said, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to table the SAVE Act because we don't have the votes for it. And we also don't have the votes to kill the filibuster.
Senate reconciliation only works for budget items with direct fiscal impact. The SAVE Act is regulatory, not budgetary. Republicans could try to force it through, but the parliamentarian would strip it out. Meanwhile, Trump's deportation machine needs funding now.
But if the idea is, number one, that you're going to kill the filibuster, which, by the way, I'm just going to point this out. There is a very, very good shot that sometime in the next 6 years, Democrats will be in control of the House and the Senate. And maybe the presidency. You don't know. 28 could go the wrong way. How would you like a Democratic Congress where the Republicans have already killed the filibuster? They don't even have to make the argument. They already have killed the filibuster, and Democrats just waltz right in and do whatever they want. Now,
remember what happened when Harry Reid nuked the filibuster for judicial nominees in 2013? Republicans used that precedent to confirm 3 Supreme Court justices. With Trump's term ending in 2028 and Democrats likely to control something soon, killing the filibuster is political suicide.
Again, Democrats might do that themselves, which is why I have recommended to Senator Thune that what Republicans should propose is a constitutional amendment to enshrine the filibuster permanently. And if Democrats won't do it, then you nuke the filibuster. That seems to me a useful tool.
Constitutional amendments need 2/3 of both houses plus 3/4 of state legislatures. Nearly impossible, but brilliant politics. It forces Democrats to either agree to preserve the filibuster permanently or explain why they want to kill it themselves later.
Your vote is threatened. Your vote is threatened by millions of people who wish to falsely vote in the election and to thwart your capacity to elect your officials. The government doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the fraudulent, right? Okay, that pitch is an amygdala pitch. And then on the left, there's a parallel amygdala pitch. Any attempt to require further documentation for voting is an attempt to stop you and your friends from voting and your family from voting.
The amygdala processes fear and emotion before rational thought. Both parties weaponize this with apocalyptic messaging about elections. Republicans scream about millions of fraudulent votes. Democrats claim voter ID will disenfranchise millions. Neither claim has evidence backing it.
The problem is, if the case that is currently being made and it's being made on large swaths of the left, is that every election that is lost is the result of voter suppression. And if on the case on the right is every election that is lost is based on voter fraud, you cannot have a well-respected election ever again.
Look at 2016. Democrats claimed Russian interference stole the election. 2020, Republicans claimed massive fraud. Both parties now reflexively question any loss. This is exactly how democracies die, when losing becomes illegitimate by definition.
And there's this notion out there that is put forward by people on all sides that Congress is there to do things. Wrong. Congress is not there to do things. Congress is there to do things that are widely approved by the American people. That is why there are checks and balances. The founders wanted it that way. Why? Because in order to manufacture popular legislation, they wanted you to have to jump through a bunch of hoops in order to get to a true majoritarian position.
Madison designed the system to require broad consensus for major changes. The filibuster isn't in the Constitution, but it serves the same function as other checks and balances, forcing compromise and preventing bare majorities from ramming through partisan agendas.
If the United States starts to look like parliamentary democracies in other parts of the world, where a coalition just rams through whatever it wants, and then the next 4 years, a new coalition comes in and rams through whatever it wants, there is no sense of stability. There is no sense of trust. That is the kind of stuff that is being eroded. So
look at Britain, Brexit, then partial reversal attempts. Italy cycles through governments annually. Germany's coalition collapsed last year. Parliamentary systems create policy whiplash. America's stability comes from requiring sustained majorities across multiple elections for major changes.
He has every ability to embrace the standing filibuster or remove the filibuster. Democrats are going to do it anyways. And by the way, the current form of the filibuster is a perversion of what it initially was.
Luna's right that the modern filibuster is a procedural hack. Just threatening to filibuster blocks bills without actually talking. The traditional talking filibuster required real effort. But her solution of nuking it entirely throws out institutional wisdom.
Massive voter suppression bill that would make it very difficult for millions of Americans, especially women who have changed their name on their birth certificate no longer matches the name on their real ID or driver's license. It would cause chaos to voting and really shrink the voting rolls 5 or 10%, given the effect it would have.
Booker's using classic fear tactics here. Provisional ballots exist precisely for cases where documentation doesn't match perfectly. Married women changing names can vote provisionally while verification happens. His chaos claims ignore existing safeguards that work.
And the answer is there is no voter suppression, and the evidence of voter fraud on a mass scale. Again, yes, there are absolutely individual cases of voter fraud. They are illegal. We should prosecute them. And yes, of course, we should pass the SAVE Act.
This balanced approach is why serious people listen to this analysis. Yes to reasonable election security measures. No to destroying institutions. Yes to prosecuting actual fraud. No to mass hysteria about imaginary voter fraud epidemics.
In short, yes, the SAVE Act is a good thing. It should be pushed. Should we blow up the filibuster? Should that be blown up? That would be a large-scale mistake.
The wisdom here is institutional conservatism in action. Support good policy like the SAVE Act through proper channels, but don't burn down the system because you can't get everything immediately. Short-term thinking destroys long-term conservative governance.